Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is First Impressions Friday. So today we are going to take a look at a couple of things that I purchased from the Merry Artist, as well as a thing that I got for my birthday that I said that I would show how to use and whatnot. I don't know exactly how you're supposed to use it, but I'll show you how I use it. It's very simple. It's a paint puck. This is a water cup. In the bottom, you can see there is some little nodules, um, and those help scrub the paint off of the paintbrushes very quickly and keeps that paint trapped down at the bottom of the glass cup, whatever. So if you have a really dirty black color, you can just put your paintbrush in there, scrub it off, and the water up at the top isn't going to show that color when you take the next color and or the next time that you dip your pen or your paintbrush into it. So it keeps that water when you're rinsing your brushes. It keeps your brushes really clean. It has all these little nodules here to hold on to your brushes, as well as in there to squeegee your brushes off. However, I'm finding that my brushes are too thin for the squeegee thing, so I'm not getting a really good squeegeeing with putting them through here and squeegeeing them off. I just use here and that works just as good. So that's the paint puck. It's nothing, it's a very cool tool to use when you're using watercolor products. It does keep your paintbrushes and your water pens very clean, which is exactly what it's intended to do. It also holds them really nicely, so when you are using multiple brushes, you can put them in here so that they are not standing in the water and getting bent or anything like that. All right, so the product that we're going to look at today is the Caran NeoColor 2s. You have seen me use them. I did use them on Tuesday and Thursday for my watercolor mermaid. And I will show you her here. So we did use the NeoColor 2s for this picture. The background here was done with markers. The background here was done with the NeoColor 2s. The entirety of the picture, except for the goblets, was done with the NeoColor 2s. The goblets were done with an acrylic paint and then the NeoColors over top. Same with her jewelry. There's an acrylic paint there with the NeoColors over top in areas that needed it. I also added the acrylic on the water here to give it a shimmer. All right, so let us do a swatching of the NeoColor 2s, and then we'll talk about the colors as well as use them directly on a page. So I have a swatch chart that I have created, and it has some little pictures, of course, so that we can use these directly on the page as well as on a palette onto the page, so that we can get a good idea of both ways to use these. So grab your coffee, sit back and relax. It's only 40 colors, so the swatch is pretty quick. Now I did buy a tin that has some problems. It's a little bent, but that's okay. It didn't damage the crayons, so which is a good thing. All right, so sit back, relax, grab your cup of coffee. It is swatch time. right there. That wasn't so bad. All right, so we have the swatch here. And as you can see, I was able to use the paintbrush itself a lot better than my watercolor pen. So a little bit of a learning curve there with using it straight off the crayon. So as you can see, we've got some nice little mermaids. Of course, I figured it was fitting since these were watercolors. And we're going to just go straight off off of the marker, the pen, the crayon for the first part here. And I'm going to move that over so that you can see a bit better. I will switch over to the close-up camera and give that a shift here. All right, so we're going to do this one here first. And good luck. I have not done this yet, so we're going to take our salmon. The colors in here are quite nice. Like as you saw in the swatch, it does seem to have a really good amount of colors. Now I'm not going to put down a huge amount. I'm just going to put it on the edges. And then we're going to take our paintbrush and we're going to pull it into the rest of the areas so that we can keep that darker area around the edge and pull that color into the rest of the picture. Okay. So as you see, I have it just on the edge of the page. I'm going to take my water brush here. So this is just a paintbrush. It's got a very small surface. I'm hoping that blue is not coming off and it's just a stain. Now, the one thing that I will say is using watercolor on the ink from my printer has some issues. I think there's a bit of blue coming off my brush. So as you can see, I'm able to break up that color and move it around the page, which is awesome. Keeping that darker color towards the edges. And the lighter color in the center. And we're able to drag that color around a little bit. This is a very small picture. So if we're not able to drag the color all the way down on this small picture, then I feel that that might be an issue. But we're able to drag that color down into the areas. Might need some more water on my brush. Oh no, it's working. I did find that during my use of these this week that they do break up really nicely. So if you were to use these, this is a really small application. May not be the best application for using them directly on the page, but you can definitely see how they can be used directly on the page. So I'm just going to take my blow dryer and blow dry this a little bit. So it's going to get loud for a moment. So we've got it nicely dry. Yes. And then we're going to take a little tiny bit of pink. We're just going to put a little bit of pink here, and a little bit of pink here, a little bit on her forehead, and in her navel area. We're going to rinse our brush, and we're just going to blend that in. So as you can see, you can layer on top of and blend into the colors as well. Alright, I'm going to rinse our brush. Now we're going to do her tail. So we're going to take our jade green, and we're going to do her tail here. Now I'm going to put down quite a bit of that because I want that to be the same color all the way across, because then we'll add our dark color on top of it. Yeah, I think it's my printer ink that's coming off. I did use watercolor paper for this swatch chart so that it wouldn't peel up the paper at least. However, I did not use watercolor paper for the other mermaid, for the mermaid last week, and it didn't peel up the paper, so I was quite impressed with that. Alright, now we're going to dry this. The reason why I'm drying in between each application is because I'm putting the crayons right on top of each other, and I don't want a wet crayon, if that makes sense. Alright, and we're going to take our pen, our paintbrush, and we're just going to drag that down into the edges here. Blending it out a little. Like so. And I've got some clean water on my brush, and I'm just blending that out so that it's not a really harsh line, but it's a darker line. Making sure that all of the crayon is broken down. Now if you find that you have too much, you can definitely use water to tone it down and to spread it out. You can also use a dry brush to pick up water areas that have too much water on them, or a piece of paper towel will also pick that water up. moving it around a little. Like so. Then we want that dark color again for her top, but we just want a little bit of it, and we'll drag it around. Like so. There we go. And I have missed her hand, so let's put a little bit of peach on her hand here. And I went out of the lines. It's completely my fault. Alright, so now we're going to do some hair. So we're going to start with a light brown on her hair. And this is going to go everywhere. So I'm just going to put in a little bit everywhere. Again, just going to get some clean water on my brush. And we're just going to move that all around. I forgot her ear too. I missed her ear. And I'm just going to put a little bit more back here because I missed that area. A little tiny bit more water. And if you find that you're not able to get as much movement because I didn't put down enough color, you can either add a little more by touching onto your crayon or putting your crayon onto a palette. Now, if you do what I just did and touch onto your crayon, make sure that you leave that crayon out long enough to dry so that you don't end up with a mushy little mess in your crayon box. Because it can become messy if you don't let it dry, because it'll just stay wet. I know this because I've done it with my King Art gel sticks. Now my King Art gel sticks I think are a little bit different because they do have a cap which holds that moisture in. These don't have a cap, so it's not going to hold that moisture in as much as if you're going to do that with your gel sticks. So it may be fine. I err on the side of caution because I have messed up one of my gel sticks with doing so before. So I'm going to leave this this crayon out, and then we're going to dry the picture and we're going to put in some darker shadows. Alright. So now we're going to take our brown and we're just going to put in some shadow areas here behind her. And up here in her buns. and that sort of thing. Try not to get off the page, but you know, it is what it is. It's a really tiny picture. Staying in the lines with a crayon is difficult. Especially since it's one that I used on a palette, so it's a little bit flatter than the rest. It doesn't have a nice sharp point. And yes, I could sharpen it, but 9 times out of 10 what I'm going to be doing with them is using them directly on a palette. Just because I enjoy the way that it gives me more control over where things go. But as you can see, they can definitely be utilized directly on the page with a really nice result. This is a really small picture, so what I would suggest you use them in this manner for is, for example, if you're doing a background, it would be really good to use them for that. Just going to do some bubbles here, because why not? All right. Now with the bubbles, I'm just going to put a little bit of water. Letting it move on its own. So if I was putting a background on this, it would definitely be, you know, a really good thing to be able to use the crayon directly on the page. Now we're going to do this little lovely lady with using a palette. So we're going to do her skin tone first. So I've got my man-made palette here. This is one that hubby made me. And we're going to put our peach tone on here. And again, this is salmon. These are numbered as well, or named at least. I think they have a number on them, but I'm not positive on how the numbering system is. But it is named, and it is named in 3 different languages. So that's great. I do believe they are light fast, which is also really cool. Are they water soluble? Absolutely. Are they going to smudge? Absolutely. If you move these or put these down wet and don't dry it and run your hand across it while it's still wet, yes, it's going to smudge. Do they blend together? Yes, they do. Okay, so, and of course they are watercolor, so the more water you use, the lighter the effect is going to be. Yes, you can mix colors to make a different color. I did do that while I was doing. Ooh, she's really, 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 really peachy. I think I'm going to take my other brush here and just dab up some of that color, because she's really peachy. So as you can see, you can just take a clean brush and pick that color up. You can also wipe it with your finger just to move some of that out of the way. Alright, I'm going to pick up a little tiny bit of this. And make sure I'm going to add more water to it, because, yeah, that was really, really, really peachy. We don't want it that peachy. Alright. Like I said, my ink from my printer is bleeding a bit, so that's what the black is in it. So, all right, so there's her skin tone. We're going to take a paper towel and we're going to dab her a little bit, just because I put a lot of water down. And then we're going to dry her with the drying. All right, so let's take a little bit of, let's do her in oranges. So we're going to take a little bit of yellow orange. Oh, actually, we're going to take a bit of orange and then we're going to take a bit of flame red. That's a better one. So this is orange. And we're going to get our paintbrush. Lots of water. And we're going to go directly on the page. And as you can see, you got a little bit more control when you're going directly from the palette to the page. A little bit more control than you do going from the crayon directly to the page and then adding water to it, which is why I wanted to show you this method as well. I'm just going to spread that around a little. And then we're going to dry it, and then we'll add the other color. Actually, I'm not going to dry it because I want to show you what happens when you put on wet. So I'm just going to add the water here to make sure that this is nice and wet. Alright, then we're going to take our red orange, which is a flame orange. And we're going to put a little bit on the palette. And then we're going to take our water, I'm going to saturate that and break it down. And then we're going to use it. And as you can see, it spreads a little bit more and blends into that yellow orange a little bit more than using it that way because of the water that's still on that yellow orange, the lighter orange color. Now if your hands are shaky like mine, you may find doing small details a little bit tedious, but that's with anything paint-wise. That's not just with the Neos. Okay. Now we're going to do her hair, and we're going to use some yellows. And I'm going to put down a light yellow, which is a mixture of yellow and white first. what it is with me and ears. I keep on missing their ears. All right. And as you can see, I'm not horribly fantastic with this, so. And then we're going to take our golden yellow. I think this is the right one, yeah. Which is a darker yellow. And put it down on the palette. Add some water. Now I'm going to make this a little bit thicker than the light yellow. So I'm not going to add as much water to this. Just going to put down enough water to break up the paint. Get my made a mess there. Like so. Now I'm going to dry it. Like that. And then we're going to take a fairly dry pen, dry paintbrush here, and we're going to pick up as much of this lighter yellow as we can, and we're just going to blend that in. So it doesn't look so in your face kind of color against the lighter. Like so. And there we have our little mermaids. So this one here is done with directly on to the page, and this one here is done with using it from a palette. They work fantastic. They do work very similar to the King Art gel sticks or the other gel crayons that I have. I do not have anything like these as a crayon. Um, so I really don't have anything to compare them to. I have found that they do work better than, say, a gel crayon directly on the page. With a gel crayon, you get this weird line when you put it directly on the page that is difficult to get rid of. So they do work much better that way, directly on the page. I'm just feeling this to see if it's dry, and it is. So it does come with this fantastic swatch chart that you can put right in your lid. This is hidden. I did not know it was there. Actually, you have to take apart the little sleeve. So this is the sleeve, and in the inside of the sleeve is some information as well as the swatch chart, which is really cool. So the information is it's fiber tipped. No, no, that's different. Da, da, da. Oh, okay. It just tells you about the different Caran d'Ache products that are available. These ones here are the NeoColor 2, um, and that sort of thing. They are water soluble and they are a wax-based product. Absolutely fantastic set of watercolor crayons. And like I said, I've never used such a thing before. Um, I have used the watercolor gel sticks, which are a slight different thing. The gel sticks are more like a lipstick. This is more like a crayon. Um, but they do work really, really nicely. And I would definitely suggest keeping them in their box. It just keeps them very, very safe, secure, and with the color chart that you can just tape right to the lid, it makes it a very, very complete type of thing. If you do end up with a dented box, be careful when closing it because it is metal and it can get sharp. Like mine has a little bit of a sharp edge on it. I have completed the chart for these in this one way as well, so it will go into my swatch book so that when I'm looking through my things, I can go, ooh, I want to use those. And then I don't have to take it out of my swatch book because it's already in the tin. So the picture that I finished with the NeoColor 2s, like I said, is completely NeoColor 2s with a little bit of marker and some acrylic paint pen. When I used the acrylic paint pen on the goblets, I took the NeoColor 2s and added other colors to the goblets to create that antique look. And it worked really, really well. It didn't wash away the acrylic marker or acrylic paint, sorry, and did blend into it enough to give it that metallic look, which is awesome. Same with down here. I put the metallic acrylic paint over top, and it didn't take away the color of the NeoColor, and it still allowed that acrylic shine to show through. All right, so first impressions of the NeoColor 2s are they're wonderful. Um, Now I'm going to do something I don't normally do in a first impressions video, and I am going to do a first impressions as well as a final impressions because I have been using these for about a week. My first impressions when I did the swatch was that they did not work as well with my watercolor, my Caran d'Ache watercolor brush pen thing as I would have liked. Um, that was another question I was asked, is do they reactivate? So let's take a look. This one here, I don't have anything all the way over here. So I'm going to run the watercolor brush over it and see if I can pick that up and move it around. So yeah, they do reactivate. So yes, I can move that around a little bit. However, I think it's just the band on the edge that I didn't activate all the way because this is not getting any lighter down here. So let's try a different one that I fully activated because I think there was a band on the edge there that didn't get activated. Okay, so this one here is fully activated and you can see there's a white area there. So let's take this edge part here and see if we can fill in that white or if we can make the edge any less. Well, it seems to, we'll go down here and see if there's any yellow on it. Doesn't seem to have picked up any of the yellow or moved that edge. So no, it does not reactivate. but if you do leave an edge that's not active, you may end up reactivating the unactivated pigment. Okay, so maybe it's all depends, because this seems to be activating. I wouldn't tempt it myself, but it doesn't seem to be spreading. That's the weird thing. So I think I'm just getting the paper wet, but I don't think I'm actually moving the pigment. Put it down there and see if it's picking it up. Yeah, it's not picking up any of the pigment that has already been activated. So I'm just going to dry this and see if it actually moved it. Okay. One thing about the heat gun is it does warp the page. And yeah, it didn't move it. So very possible that you can put this down, dry it, and not reactivate it. So as long as it's been dried, I think you can safely say that it's not going to reactivate with further addition of water. So sort of like the Derwent ink tints, it doesn't seem to reactivate with water, which is really kind of cool because there's no extension on those two colors and the color that was there is still there. So that's what it's showing me. Let's do a I was going to do a test on the backside, but the backside of this is not watercolor paper, so it wouldn't be a very good test. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. All right, so it doesn't seem to activate or reactivate after it's been dry. That being said, I'm not absolutely positive on it. That's just from what I'm seeing here. And from what I'm seeing here, it didn't reactivate on either one of these. And this one here, I think it was the edge that had not been activated that actually activated and spread, because the edges here didn't disintegrate. So that's just from what I'm seeing here. All right. So these are the NeoColor 2, Caran NeoColor 2 water soluble wax pastels. They work like the gel sticks and that sort of thing. I do prefer them on a palette if I'm using them for small details. If I'm using them for larger areas, I'm thinking that using them directly on the page would not be a bad thing. They do work directly on the page, no problems whatsoever, as you can see with this little mermaid here, as well as on a palette, as you can see here. I do find that with using it on the palette, you are getting a more concentration of color than is if you were to just put in a couple little pieces and drag that color around. Would I buy them again? Do I want the full set? Yeah, I kind of do. Um, will I be getting the full set? Maybe. We'll see. Um, the colors that do come in the 40 set are a really good range of colors. However, I'm missing things. I want a little bit more pink, and I want a little bit more earthy greens, the deeper greens. I want a little bit more brown, so I'm missing things. But yeah, I was able to get a beautiful picture out of them so far, and I will be using them again during Mermay. So we will be playing with them again. All right, guys, until next time, this is First Impressions Friday for the Caran NeoColor 2s. Yes, I enjoyed them. They are a wonderful color range. And of course, having full set syndrome and not having the full set makes me want to have the full set. So, it may be something that I end up getting in the future. Would I buy them again? As oh, that was another thing that I wanted to tell you. They are an open stock product. So if you do use up a crayon, you can replace that crayon, which is wonderful. Um, would I buy the full set on top of this set? Probably not. Will I build in some other colors? Maybe. We will see because I really do want them. But I have a hard time justifying um, buying a really expensive set of watercolor products when I don't use a lot of watercolor. I'm going to start using these for some backgrounds and see how I do with them, and then maybe look into getting the full set. But they are wonderful. They do activate very nicely. They activate really smoothly. They don't leave any residue or anything else on the page if you fully activate them. You don't get that nasty line where you can't get rid of it, um, which is fantastic to me. That's the one thing I don't like about the crayons, the gel sticks, is that when you put them directly on the page, you can end up with a line that just doesn't go away. And I've had that happen a couple of times, and it really, really, really bugs me. But with these, it that didn't happen, so that's really cool. All right. Always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to anyone that you enjoy watching. If you want to purchase a set of the Caran NeoColor 2s from Amazon, I will leave a link for the 40 set that I have. Of course, there are other sets out there, and you can, of course, experiment with a smaller set. Find out if you like them before putting out the major money that these do cost. All right, guys, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. Until next time, bye bye for now.